Krystyna.
Damn.
I'm very excited to see you because we're a little late on our annual therapy session.
Yeah.
By about 6 months.
Okay. I'm glad you remember.
But that's good though, because then we have extra heavy
ground to cover.
Childhood traumas to get over.
So many.
That's good. So we have an extra 6 months of that. It's great to see you though.
You too, Felix. You're growing into such a lovely young man.
Thanks, Mom. No, but genuinely, it's great to see you. And I've been past couple days just kind of binge watching and binge listening to some of your recent specials.
Oh, thanks. Yes, Our Special Day on YouTube.
Special Day.
Yeah,
I don't want to spoil it.
Oh, you can. I mean, we've shown clips online. You can.
Okay.
I mean, don't like do a joke verbatim, I guess.
It wouldn't even be funny if I tried. But no, I love the beginning with another fellow comedian that makes a little cameo. But the whole thing is great. So for people listening after this, go check that out. Or maybe before this.
Yeah, whenever you want. Just check it out.
And that's what I'm thinking too.
We funded it ourselves. We paid for it ourselves, and Corinne directed it, my comedy partner, and
comedy wife.
Yeah, my comedy wife. Yeah, exactly. We got comedy married.
Yeah.
Our Special Day. That's part of the theme. Yeah, it was really cool to do it yourself and not have to. I mean, no one else wanted us to do a special, so we're like, all right, that's cool. We're gonna. And you forget when you have hopes and dreams and goals in your early 20s, and you're so hungry, and you're like, this is what I want to accomplish by this date, and here's how I get it. And then you get older and you forget you still have to have that tenacity of that drive can't die in you. So you have to take rejection as like all right, I'll go until I get a yes. And that yes is from me.
And I feel like, I think we're in kind of this new age, especially with comedians. Now, granted, I'm not a comedian, but I do follow a lot of you guys of like taking over your own content, making your own content, saying like, fuck you to the big guys.
Being at the helm.
And in a lot of ways, I feel like that's got to be empowering.
Very, very much so. Because no one's going to deliver your genuine sense of humor as well as you will.
And how long did it take for it, like once you guys recorded it, to get it out?
Ooh, really short. Corinne wanted to. She said she wanted to film a special by the end of 2021. So we managed to do it just in the nick of time at December.
Right.
But she brought up the idea in October. So we got on the phone right away. We brainstormed venues. We knew we wanted to do it in Salem, Massachusetts. That's where the Salem witch trials were. One of our touring shows was the Bridget Bishop tour, who's the first woman to get killed during the Salem witch trials. It just had the town has a fun witchy vibe. And we have that show, the Dumb Bitch Woo Woo Hour, on our YouTube. So yeah, we're like, this is great. It all felt right. And we were the only ones that we had to answer to, which was pretty cool.
And I think also what's cool now, also not to spoil it, is, and this is something that I just genuinely think you guys are so good at cultivating in general, is just such loyal fans. And like when you guys have this little segment where I won't spoil it, but a little interaction with the fans in the beginning.
Yeah.
I think like the way that you guys bounce off of each other and compliment one another. I mean, it's obvious for people that have followed you for a while that you guys are comedically intertwined.
Yes,
but I think
we have like a twin language.
It shows up super well in that. And
thanks.
And I think that, I just think everything about it is so well produced, and the quality of the content is great. So
watch it. Our Special Day, youtube.com/guys we fucked without the U in fucked.
There we go. And now, as we were just talking about off air, you guys are back on mainstream platforms.
Yes. So we're still exclusive to Luminary, but after 7 days, all of the episodes go in front of the paywall with commercials.
Okay.
And then Luminary subscribers get 2 episodes a month extra. That are us reading emails. We get crazy emails. You think that people are gonna run out of problems? They don't.
They don't.
And they're interesting, man.
What's like
people
the
have
best,
specific
what's
problems.
Like the best one of recent times, or maybe not the best because there's a lot of good ones, but one that really had you all fucked up.
Oh, there's so many. The ones it's not a specific one because we get so many of this kind of like a woman. Not even like, young, you're young, but like in your 30s, your early 30s, where you're like dating a piece of trash and you know it.
Yeah.
And you just don't want to part ways. And you are listing out all the things that are not good in the relationship and you're still on the fence. Those ones get me the most, probably because I'm projecting and I've been there. My reaction to things is more of a reflection on me and not the person I'm reacting to.
So for like the young woman who's in her early 30s dating a dirtbag, what's your general Cut them off.
Don't be an accomplice to somebody's mistreatment of you. Don't be an accomplice.
Easier said than done, though. So then, like, what's like the?
It's all
13-step process.
I mean, I'm a big fan of ripping that Band-Aid off and getting out of there.
Just saying, fuck out of here.
If you know yourself, that's what I've had to do that before in the past, where I'm like, I know if I stay here and talk, I'm gonna get talked out of leaving. I'm just gonna go.
And
I'm just gonna cut it. Yeah.
And you just say, I'm out.
With the support of friends, that's a necessary part.
But how do you like in the whatever example you're thinking of right now? What was the conversation like verbatim?
The conversation verbatim was, I'm breaking up with you.
That's a toughie.
You can't really clear on that. It's pretty clear. You can't dance around that one.
Let's try to no.
I am queen of beating around the bush because I scared to commit to one decision or the other. But that one I knew it was the right choice.
How long were you together for?
7 years.
Oh, is that fellow?
That was that one. Yeah.
I remember that fellow.
Yeah.
Do you still talk to him?
No.
He's done.
He's done. He tried to sue me and Corinne
that's fun.
for $110,000.
Because you guys talked about him on the show?
No. He's technically a public figure because he's technically a public figure. But Corinne called me and she never calls me. We've been working together for 10 years. She's never called. No, we text. Come on.
No, of course.
She calls me and I was like, uh-oh, this is either really good or really bad. And the first thing she said was, are you sitting down? And I was like, oh, that's either really good or bad. Shit. And knowing Corral was like, it's probably bad. And she was like, look in your email, you will find a letter from your ex's lawyer. And I was like, oh, what?
Wait, so what was the specific?
So there was a time where in Guys We Fucked, we got kicked off of our network in the early beginnings of the podcast. The podcast was really hot, and we were presented with a contract by the network we had joined, basically saying there was an ad split, which was standard. Standard in an industry that's ever changing, but still. And this was 8 years ago. The ad split, and then there was a portion of the contract that said, we will get 10% of anything you do based off of the success of Guys We Fucked. Now that is a manager or an agent's commission.
Right.
This is not a manager or an agent. This is a podcast network. So luckily, thank God, because I would have signed that shit. I would be like, cool, we're going to make money. What? Corinne worked as a junior talent manager before she did comedy full time. So that's how we met. I interned for her company. So she knew that was fucked up.
Right.
And so she was like, we're not signing with this clause included. And they're like, all right, see ya. And we're like, okay, see ya. And so there was about, I'm not sure exactly how long it was, maybe about 6-month period where we were doing the podcast from my living room, my apartment where I lived with that ex-boyfriend. And he was editing it because he knew about the tech stuff. And so I was broke. I was like asking him to help me with my rent. Like I was not doing well financially. So I couldn't pay. We couldn't pay him. So he wanted back pay for that. Basically, when you go through a breakup, you're not the best version of yourself. When you get dumped, you're certainly not the best version of yourself.
Fair enough.
And I've been doing a lot of work, Felix, on myself. And I'm kind of in a place of forgiveness and not anger.
Oh, so wait. So how did we get to this place of forgiveness and not anger, though?
Anger, I'm so exhausted.
But have you ever been?
Yeah, I know that. But.
Have you ever been like a angry person?
I have a temper, and I never knew where it was from because it seemed a little like off. Like it just didn't seem like a part of my natural personality. Like it came from somewhere. And the temper, I think I was taught a little bit. I stopped talking to my parents, which is a big step for me. About 1.5 years ago. So, it was after I left here. And I was like, you know what?
Said, fuck the parents.
Felix really inspired me to stand up for myself. I think I'm done.
I'm sorry, Krystyna's parents.
Oh, it's okay. I wish, it needed to happen. It was like a Munchausen-y kind of, what's the one where you get kidnapped and then you love your kidnapper? Stockholm Syndrome. It wasn't that, but it felt like remnants of this real big psychological pull towards them. That was facilitated by like manipulation that I didn't see until like 1 year ago.
So then what was like the moment you saw it?
God, there's so many. The moment I was like, oh, okay, I'm gonna block you, your phone number, which is before I did that, I was like, am I allowed to do that? Like, is that legal? Like, that's how much up my parents' ass I was. My mom was accusing me. She wasn't asking me how I was doing. She was telling me how I was doing, and she was saying my happiness was fake and that she was concerned that I was addicted to drugs, and she was worried about me living in New York with all the crime. It was just all this worry being thrown at me. And I was like, that's not it. I'm actually doing really well. I kind of like this quarantine thing. I'm probably figuring out like, whatever. And she wouldn't take my answer for an answer. And she said, expressed wanting to come up to New York City. And I said, no, I was very irritated by that. She came up anyway because I woke up. Whenever you wake up to like 9 missed calls, you're like, oh, that ain't good. And she was at my apartment, and I was like, that is a very clear boundary crossing that you can't deny. So I'm gonna set a boundary and block them.
Wait, so you block
her phone number,
just your mom
and my dad, because I called my dad and I was like, why did you let her do this? And he was like, well, why don't you talk to her? I'm like, I can't. Y'all are both nuts. I mean, when you're family, it gets so layer upon layer upon layer of shit.
So then how long did you have their phone numbers blocked for?
About 6 months. I felt so
that's a
guilty.
Long time. Because even like a week, you're like,
I felt so guilty. I was like, am I allowed to do this? Like, I felt like.
Now, how old are your parents?
How old are they? That's a good question. In their 60s. My dad's in his 70s, maybe.
So you felt guilty. But yet your feelings of like boundaries or this needing to happen seem like that trumped the guilt.
Yes, Trump is interesting. You bring that up. That was part of it too. Yes, and I think I've been trying to convince myself through therapy and through the help of a therapist and friends who know me well that yes, they are crossing boundaries, but I didn't have evidence that was so obvious that there's like no way, because I would always defend them. Always. And like to the death without even thinking about it. It was just an automatic thing. So that was such hard evidence that I was like, well, now I can make this decision and I will feel guilty, but I know that I don't have to feel guilty.
Huh.
If that makes sense.
So then when you're like living in the guilt though, because 6 months is a long time to live in guilt, and like that's a lot of nights that you're sleeping.
It's most of my life I've been guilt.
But like what are there moments where you're like, you know what, maybe I'll unblock or
for sure. Oh, 100%.
But like
I wrote him a letter. I wrote him a really nice letter. I hand wrote it and then I was like, I'm gonna email it because I want to make sure that it got there. Okay. I just really wanted to make sure that they got it. I just sat down and I meditated because I got in a meditation over quarantine. That's changed my life.
Okay.
Sat down and I just meditated in my guilt, like just the guilt. Like now, the thing that I've been doing different. Whenever you get that pit in your stomach or whatever the uncomfortable feeling is, rage, sorrow, terror, what have you, just sit in it and just focus on it and don't try to distract yourself from it and don't try to relieve yourself from it. Just sit in it and you'll be able to move through it. So I sat down and I meditated and I wrote like a truly beautiful letter to them that was just all loving. And they didn't fucking get back to me. And I was like, damn, okay. Cool. I think you guys are mean. And I think I'm just now picking up on that.
Wait,
Peace.
so then after 6 months?
Yeah, I unblocked them. We talked. There was one instance where I went to speak with them. I had my older brother, who is, oh my God, a lifesaver. We're like war veterans. And
it's just you and your brother?
My older brother, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Or my brother, yes. He came with me and I tried so hard and I got to see their tactics on display, kind of having a little space from them and understanding. I read a book called You're Not Crazy, It's Your Mother. And I was like, well, let's see what this book has to say. I feel like there's some sage wisdom in this one. And I read it. I downloaded the audiobook. I listened to it. I stayed up all night. I ended up not sleeping. I called my brother the next day and I'm like, yo, I think there's some narcissism going on in here. They're like undercover dicks. And it resonated with me so much and it made me feel less crazy. That's my thing. And that's how I would get caught in a relationship, friendship, business, whatever that's kind of manipulative, is because I feel crazy so easily. So that I had to undo.
Did you feel like any of this was your responsibility?
I felt like I got a daughter I didn't ask for.
Interesting.
Yeah, so that's why
Explain
cutting
that.
her off. I was always so worried about my mom and her health and how she was doing and how she was feeling in any given moment that I completely neglected my own needs my whole life. And I didn't realize that until very recently. So that's where the temper came from.
Okay.
When you don't acknowledge your own needs, it's going to come up.
Right.
It's going to come up. And it's so interesting to me, having read about childhood trauma and kind of the effects of not getting what you needed as a kid, which most of us didn't. And it's up to you to kind of fill in the gaps of parenting for yourself as you get older and finding out what they are. But it's interesting how certain behaviors adults have that perplex me, I now understand. Because I'm like, oh, you weren't seen as a kid. Like, you didn't get, it's so clear to me. I see the path from A to B. And it's interesting. It makes me have a better sense of compassion.
Well, I think also it's interesting because you're not, I think when I hear people talk about childhood trauma, it's through a lens of like victimhood. And I think your lens is not.
It was that for a minute because I needed to sit and like, oh, wait, this.
Right, but I don't think you sat there and like it wasn't like for the rest of time you sat there like,
you can't.
Poor me, you know what I mean?
You can't.
I think that
I just want answers.
So do you feel like you have answers?
I do. Yeah, and now it's what you do with those answers. Because there's all these stages of healing, right? So when you realize, oh, this was fucked up, that's a mind fuck.
What was the biggest answer?
Oh, good question. The biggest answer was everyone did the best they could. And their best wasn't good enough.
Forgiveness.
For what I needed. And that's okay. And a thing that I'm always reading all these books because I'm always searching for things that resonate with me. And one book that I'm reading said, consider, talking to the universe or a prayer. I've gotten really into like studying like religion and spirituality and how related they are and how all the religions kind of say the same thing.
They're the same thing.
I didn't know that. That's really beautiful.
It is. It's also kind of crazy that like people get on disagreements over religion when like if you think about it, it's
you
all
adapt.
The same
yeah,
it's
like
all the same shit. Love your neighbor.
And it's really cool shit. It's good, like good, beautiful lessons, right? And they get convoluted because humans ruin everything. Right. But one of the things that this recent book I was reading said, be honest about. I don't know how to love my mom. Ooh. That I feel 8 pounds lighter even just repeating that out loud.
That's heavy, but
I don't know how to love her. I don't know how to love her because there's so much anger. And there's so much sorrow. And so I don't know how to love her. And that's okay.
How do you want to love her?
I don't know. But I want to, well, one thing I do know is I want it to be the most genuine version of myself. So I'm not betraying myself.
Do you feel like you ever loved her?
Yes. But it was a love that was based on fear.
Fear of what she thought of you?
So I don't even know if that's love.
Fear of what she thought of you or fear of
her safety, fear of her health, fear of what she thought of me, fear of how I affected her.
So you felt responsible
fear
for
of
her.
Making her life better or worse. Yeah. And I do also think, I happened to be born, I know that your circumstances can make you sensitive. I also was not a very resilient. I'm resilient, but I was very sensitive. Like no matter what parent I had growing up, no matter how I was treated, I'm going to be I'm a sensitive gal. So that I kind of understood and accepted.
But when you say sensitive, as in like...
I pick up on everything everyone's feeling. And it's exhausting.
That's interesting. Because I think like when you're... Like when I'm around you, it seems as though like you are setting your foundations. And then like people can have their issues.
I can hold space for people real easily. With my mom, that's different. Her energy penetrates mine.
Now, what about dad? I feel like he's complicit in...
Yeah, I don't know. I guess. I'm not sure. I don't really want to... That I don't want to speak for them without... I don't want to speak too much about that without them being here. Because there's still stuff that I probably am misunderstanding or don't really fully grasp. And I do through all of it have a great deal of respect for them both. So I'm not sure what's going on with my dad. But I know that I needed to get away for a little while.
And so when was the end of the 6-month period?
That was about maybe like a little less than a year ago. And now they're not blocked, but it's very intermittent contact. We talked on the phone. And I just wanted to see how I was feeling. And it was okay. It was like talking to I don't know if you've ever been in a romantic relationship where you feel lonelier in that relationship than you would if you were single. Because that person it's like you're in you're sitting in the same room, but it's like you're in a warehouse and that person's on the other end talking you through a tin can. They're so far away from you. That's how it felt. Yeah. Yeah. I'm telling you, get a globe, read some books, get ready to TV.
Yeah, we'll talk about the globe.
You'll
in a
make
sec.
some realizations, man.
But like, now for you though, on a daily basis, is that like depressing? Is that
It was.
Because that's hard.
Yeah, it is. It is. It's hard.
Like we're talking about it lightly now, but like,
get this. So, and I think it's so funny. It really speaks to how much I put people on pedestals. Kern and I wrote a book called Fucked, Being Sexually Explorative and Self-Confident in a World That's Screwed. And it was a while ago. We wrote it 15, 16? I don't even know. What is time?
What is time?
It's an illusion. But we wrote the book and we had a book dedication. We each had our own separate book dedication because we wrote our own chapters. We didn't combine our writing together. And all 4 people on my book dedication are blocked from my phone. Well, now my parents aren't blocked, but I parted ways with the parents, with the best friend of 15 years and the boyfriend of 7 years. And so that's sad.
But I will say though,
Few beginnings.
I will also say though, I admire that in a way because I think that oftentimes too many people stay kind of complacent and they don't make any necessary changes, even though these changes need to happen.
Oh yeah, I will never do that.
So like in that sense, and like what you're doing is that's very hard. You know better.
I cry.
Yeah,
every day.
It's a lot
day.
of like.
Yeah, but I allow myself to do it now. I'm not. I was so jarred by
many
how
Band-Aids.
I felt like a washcloth getting wrung out. I would vacillate between. Is that the right word? Oscillate or vacillate? Which one is
Both
it?
are big. But
yeah, I know. I know one's the moving.
Yeah,
I would be going back and forth playing this ping pong. Sure, let's use that one. Between being angry and rageful and so mad at all the love I thought I got and I didn't. It was misunderstood. It was just I got so mad. Between that and truly being like loving and missing these people and going, what the fuck did I do to not see this behavior? But it's like, you don't got to do that. The child brain thinking and trauma brain thinking is you're either a good person or you're a bad person. But when your nervous system is in a healthy place, you can fully accept and embrace the fact that people are all of that at the same time.
Do you also feel like when these changes are happening, you are like, can you feel yourself growing in a sense?
Yeah. I feel like, I don't know if babies feel the growth that happens in their bones, but that's how it feels. Like, I feel like I'm just, like I'm getting wrung out and stretched.
Now my question to you is like, there are a lot of people listening, I hope, but there are a lot.
Fingers crossed.
No, but like there are a lot of people listening to you in general that probably feel the same way, but have like zero idea and don't maybe have the strength or courage or whatever to like actually go through and do some of the things that you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
Like how can someone who might feel even scared of their parents or whatever, like to actually do it?
Yeah. Know that you're going to be sitting there for a while if you're waiting to feel inspired to do it. You got to do it, and then the good feelings that you can enjoy feeling a better sense of efficacy later. It hurts. It really hurts. For me, it feels like peeling feels awful.
Yeah.
It sucks.
No, yeah, it's not comfortable.
Good, but it is not. I expected it to feel good. That was a huge misunderstanding on my part.
Do you feel like it feels good now?
Yeah, it does. Well, I feel more in my body. I feel like more of a person, and that feels really good. But it's still, I'm learning that when an emotion comes up, I can feel it and not react to it.
Like, what's the end goal though?
I just want to be psychic, honestly.
Oh.
Because that's another topic I've been getting into lately, like psychic intuition and psychic mediums. I've watched so many YouTube videos, read so many books on this phenomena. It's crazy. And a lot of times people who grew up in like a tumultuous environment as a kid, they're very sensitive to energies. And so they have a bigger chance of like being able to like, everybody can hone in on this. And so I'm at the point in my healing process where I want to think about other shit that's really cool and exciting. And that's one of them.
So like, what's like a little sprinkle of psychic for the people out there? Because I got no fucking idea about any of that.
So intuition is interesting.
Okay.
Intuition is very subtle. And often it's the first thing that comes to you. There is a book called, let me get the exact, that's why I have my phone out, because I have all these audiobooks. I want to make sure I'm giving the right title, because this book is phenomenal and I highly recommend it. It is a book, I believe it's called Healing Thoughts, but it was written, it's called Messages of Hope. Messages of Hope, the metaphysical memoir of a most unexpected medium. It's by Suzanne Geisman. Suzanne Geisman worked for the United States government. She talks about the top of the book where she was in the air on one of the only planes allowed in the airspace on 9/11. She was flying back. I believe she was with the Secretary of Defense. She was high up in the Navy, as was her husband. And she talked about, working for the government during 9/11 and how awful it was and how scary. And they, her and her husband eventually retired. And then her husband lost his daughter from another marriage. His daughter, I think she was in her 20s. She also was in the Navy. He lost his daughter suddenly. And this woman who wrote the book, who's married to him, experienced her husband, grieving at a level that she never thought a human being could grieve. It was so painful to bear and to watch. And so her response to that was, there has to be a way to reach your daughter. There's no way she could be gone. Like all of a sudden, she was such a vibrant, beautiful personality. And this woman took classes. She saw psychic mediums, got some hits, got some had some readings. Some of them didn't resonate. Some of them really resonated. And she talks about all of them. She talks about going to this school in England called the Arthur Findlay College that I really want to go to. I think she did it for like 6 weeks or so. It wasn't like a full college degree length of time she spent here. And she learned how to communicate with people who've passed away. And it is remarkable. All she had was an interest in it. That's it. She didn't have any abilities that she knew of before this book. And that book proved to me, okay, anybody can do this. And as much as this childhood trauma shit is important, this shit is way cooler.
Wait, so she could speak to anybody who you said
So when you get a reading with a reputable medium, they'll just because you want to hear from somebody doesn't mean they're going to show up. You have to match their energy. That's where I said it was sensitive earlier, like being sensitive to everybody's energy. A person who has passed away is a pure form of energy. They vibrate at a much higher vibration than a human being would, because on Earth, and this is what's so ironic, getting into all the spirituality stuff and reading all these books, hell, like everybody in religions where they really carry it away, hell is dangled in front of you to make you feel guilty about every goddamn thing.
Yeah.
Hell is Earth. Like, turn the news on. This is hell. It's burning. There's wars. And it's your job to find your own inner peace and your own heaven, if you will, in your own world that you create with your friends and your loved ones and the environment and what you ingest. So to me, part of living a life that is like a full life, in my opinion, is part of that. Now that I know about this shit, is I want to become psychic medium.
But so how does one become psychic medium?
A lot of practice. I mean, she does a really good job explaining all of the exercises that she did in the book. One of the exercises, for example, I think she did this at this college, was you're in a group, you're with a group of people, and each person has an item that belonged to someone who passed away. So you pair up with somebody that you don't know, and you hold the item in your hand, the item of that person. Like, you give me a watch your grandfather had, and I hold it in my hand, and I just sit there. And whatever comes to me, I just say out loud, without fear of, I don't fucking know what I'm talking about. That's what she did, and she eventually was saying the right things that were specific about the person who used to own this. And she was like, what the what? Oh. Intuition is extremely subtle, and we miss it because one of the reasons is I'm fucking wrapped up in why my mom was mean to me. Like, it's, so that's why doing the childhood trauma thing, it frees you. It gives you space. It gives you emotional real estate, like real estate in your own head to like look into other stuff.
So this energy thing, because I think this is fascinating.
Yeah.
I'm currently she's probably not listening. I'm currently seeing someone who's talking to me a ton about this energy thing, and it was kind of like sailing over my head.
Yeah.
And
she's onto something, I bet.
She might be onto something.
I think she might be.
But so, like, I'm trying to understand more about, like, how do we understand this?
So, when you're in a room and someone's looking at you, you can feel it?
Yeah.
There you go. You just tuned into somebody else's energy on you.
But so what?
So that's the beginnings of realizing that you can be more attuned to energies. If you have to kind of calibrate yourself and like really ground yourself, but you can be attuned to other energies. That's how people become a medium. They kind of get themselves in a high vibrational state and they're able to pick up on extra stuff. We're so wrapped up in our five senses that we're not paying any attention to what we don't see and hear.
So what is like the ultimate goal for someone to come to you, say, Krystyna?
I don't know.
Not figure my shit out, but tell me my I don't know, what's the word?
Well, so one of the reasons why I thought this was so interesting, I watched Surviving Death on Netflix. It's a docu-series.
Okay.
Everyone should watch this. In it, they one of the episodes, they interview a woman named Laura Lynn Jackson.
Okay.
I immediately fell in love with this woman. She was a psychic medium. You watched her do readings for people. You watched her do a reading for a woman whose daughter died of a drug overdose. And you watched Laura Lynn Jackson go, okay, your daughter wants me to bring up whatever you have in your pocket. And the woman just fucking loses her mind, takes out a necklace in her pocket that had her daughter's picture in it. And Laura proceeds to communicate a message from this woman's daughter saying there's nothing this isn't verbatim, but there's nothing you could have done to save me. You did everything you could, and I'm a better person because you were my mom. And you're just sitting there going, are you kidding me? You can get that healing? That healing exists? That's fucking wild and profound. And like, how are we not utilizing this every day? How are we not seeking this out all the time if we have things to heal from? That's incredible. And so that led me down. I read Laura Lynn Jackson, both of her books. She has 2 New York Times bestselling books, Signs and The Light Between Us. Can't recommend them enough. Then there's this guy, Matt Frazier, who I'm obsessed with. He's this guy in Boston. He has a thick Boston accent, and he talks on. He goes, "Your mother's here. She said she loves what you did with the tree. You planted the tree in the yard. She loves it." Like, he's such a personality. He has a show on E where he is a medium for people. But I watched a lot of his YouTube videos where he did online readings for people, and you watch these messages get delivered to these people. That's like from an abusive partner, an ex-husband who beat the shit out of his wife, who passed away from alcoholism, and you watch a message get delivered to this grieving widow of a real apology and no defensiveness and really specific to the situation that she had endured with this man. And you're like, I mean, where'd that come from? So I want to be psychic. It's a lot.
But it's heavy though, no? I feel like
I'm used to that shit, man. That's my zone.
You got some heavy
lane.
shit.
My lane's heavy.
Yeah, but I feel like it's like it's almost like a drug too, no? Because it's kind of like you're just so engulfed. And you're like engulfed in this, and it's like such a distraction from like everything else.
Yeah, it's fun.
You're like when you're like driving or something, you ever think about shit like this, and you're just I don't know.
I'm always learning. I like learning. I'm a sponge.
Yeah,
and I feel like because of the healing from my childhood stuff, I now have room in my head to like take in new information.
Do you feel like, well, are you currently in a relationship or any of that?
No.
Do you feel like that makes you, for whatever the future holds, more kind of prepared to engulf, like to put yourself in that situation once again?
Oh, like have a boyfriend?
Yeah.
Ooh, I don't know. I don't really associate those two.
But in terms of just like clearing your head and like
I see.
You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, for sure.
So I think oftentimes I think that so many people hop into things because they're not ready and they're not within themselves. There's so much turbulence, and I feel like this is such a like cleanse that it could prepare you for like relationships, romantic, friendships, whatever it is in general.
Yes, you're absolutely right. That's an astute observation. That is right. That's correct, because I can check in with myself and actually be present instead of going la la la. I don't know. Let's just do it. Let's and just not really be present for what's happening.
Like, I think people would like much rather find a partner that's more in touch with themselves than not.
It's a more fulfilling time.
Yeah,
because you can't be that for the other person. They have to be that for themselves. People enter relationships to fill a void, and it's like, boo-boo. No one's going to fill that void the way you can. And if they don't fill the void, you can get bitter. There's so much with relationships in terms of like still healing yourself. But you can also, I think, the most learning about yourself, I think, comes in a romantic relationship.
Really? Why is that?
Because you have to face yourself. You see yourself through someone else's eyes. You get to witness how you love, how you like to be loved. When I'm in a relationship, I mean, we just talk. I mean, I'll get my vocal cords will go like scratchy when I enter a relationship because I talk so much.
Yeah. That's interesting. Well, I just think also it's like the relationship part when you're not, kind of what you said, like when you're not ready for it.
Yeah.
Is so, I think like 98% of people that get into relationships are not ready for them. Yeah. And I wish people like saw it just for their own benefit.
Well, you know what I think would help, just as I said earlier about like, I don't know how to love my mom, and just coming to like admitting verbally out loud, I don't know, here are the things that I don't really know how to do. I would love to understand, find a way to know how to do these things. But maybe if you're impatient or if you feel like you get smothered easily and you don't know how to navigate that. Well, if you're open about it, then you have the opportunity to navigate it with another person.
And are these things that like you have found, and I don't know how much you talk about them consistently on, whether it's Illuminary episodes or stuff like that, are these things that you're comfortable like sharing, generally speaking, with the world?
Generally speaking, yes, absolutely. The specifics I keep to the Luminary folks. Because I'm seeing people and stuff. So I'm like, and I go through the ups and downs of like, I don't know how I feel about this. And sometimes I talk stuff out. But that I keep for the Luminary episodes because I've had too many instances of, I don't want it all out there, like the specifics.
It's tough though, because it's what we were saying like before we went on. It's like, there's a lot.
Oh yeah, there's a lot that's already out there, and I've accepted that. But going forward, I'm like, okay, maybe I can conduct myself in a different way that feels like I'm not being guarded, because I'm certainly not. But I also like getting into other people's stories. I want to hear other people's stories because people have them and they're interesting.
And you hear some fucked up ones.
Very.
Like whoever thought you might even be like an expert on like pedophilia, which it seems like these days you are.
Yeah. It's wild, right? Because no one talks about it.
So I wanted to pick your brain a little bit about the pedophilia.
Sure, yeah.
Like, so for people that are wondering that I didn't just bring up like the pedophilia thing, you were just on Bert Kreischer's podcast, which was a very, very lovely listen.
Oh, okay. That was a fun conversation.
It really was. I was driving back from Boston yesterday, and that was for like the first half of my trip. It was about 2 hours. I just listened to you, Corinne, and good old Bert.
Yeah.
Kick it, and he was so like, I mean, he's like a teddy bear in general. I've never met him, but that's what I can kind of gauge.
He's the best. Yeah.
But he was like it really sounded like he was so comfortable around you guys. And really revealing some very interesting things about like fatherhood and some like twisted sexual things, but put into a perspective of a father.
Yeah.
And I was like, and it was so like candid and so like honest. Yeah. And I think a lot of people probably benefit or can benefit from listening to that. But I guess more my question for you is like, when you have, so with regards to the pedophilia thing, now that you're more of an expert.
Yeah. Which
is it fucking like, it's weird. In a way, it's
the fact that people molest kids?
That's a little strange.
It's common. I know a lot of people who are molested. And that's wild. And that's a very popular email we've gotten from men and women who have had experiences, whether it was ongoing or like a one-time thing. They never talked about it. They're not scarred about it. They are scarred about it. They never told anybody about it. Every situation under the sun.
Now, have you had like a pedophile like write to you guys like, hey, yes. I'm a pedophile?
Yeah, because I asked. Because I was like, well, okay, if we're getting all these emails from people who were touched, there have to be statistics. Who are the people doing the touching? Touchers? And why? What can be done here? Because the second you're afraid to talk about something, then it remains a problem, right? So one thing that can be done right off the bat is a helpline. Somewhere you can call so that you don't act on it. Because you don't have to act on it. Just because you have an urge doesn't mean you have to act on it. And so that's one thing that could help. We had a woman on, I forget her name, I'm blanking on her name. She was fantastic. she had a quote in an article about the subject, and we zoomed with her. She was a doctor. She worked at a prison where she basically was in charge of saying, can a pedophile get out? Like, is this sentencing appropriate for this crime? And the crime mostly dealt with pedophilia, sexual assault. And she had a lot of really interesting insight about it and just how common it is. I mean, it's a problem. And then you go, well, you think of Lewis Carroll and who wrote Alice in Wonderland. I have the unabridged version of Alice in Wonderland that he wrote, and there was many forewords by his friends who knew him at the time. He was a pedophile. He was in love with Alice Liddell, who was 7 years old. He's a pedophile. But so during that time, people sexualized kids, and I was like, what? I didn't know that.
Wait, so what I also learned from listening to you guys talk is there's like different. We're labeling everyone who likes kids as pedophiles, but there's like different levels.
There's hebephilia, which is like a prepubescent. There's like levels of it.
That's nasty.
But
like, wait, so what are the levels?
The ones that I know
pedophiles out
are
there?
Pedophilia is until like 8, and then I think hebephilia is like 9 through
That's
like
15
or something. I think there's 2 categories.
You don't think we just all group them under like? Is it that much better for like an 11-year-old or an 8-year-old?
I don't know that. See, I'm not an expert in that way because I don't know about because I don't want to speak to it if I don't know the facts. But I just know that those 2 are terms for those categories.
Is it categorized as a mental illness?
I think the woman said it was. It's a sexual attraction. So some people are exclusively sexually attracted to kids, even as a kid. Like she told us about this one guy who knew since he was a kid, and then he just
So since he was younger, but at that point it's just like liking your peers. Like if you're 9 and you like another 9,
right? And then he got older, and then it just stayed.
Never.
Yeah,
it's not great.
Yeah. But I don't know what the answer is. But I do know the only thing that I fucking know for sure is if you talk about it in a way that's not because it is such a terrible thing.
Right.
But we got to talk about it. There will be the likelihood of figuring out ways to eliminate it are high. It's higher.
So for the folks that have like, how many people have written to you that like, hey, I'm a pedophile?
I asked once, and I asked for that, and I asked for anybody who has raped somebody. Okay. And I got a couple of those. They like would make fake email addresses. The pedophile thing, I think it was 2.
So what do they say?
So long ago, one of them, and I was very weirded out reading it, and I was like, well, this is the fucking problem, Krystyna. You could read the goddamn words. He never acted on it, and he was molested as a kid.
See, I feel like that's like
that happens, and then that doesn't happen. That's not the case every single time, but that is the case a lot of the time. And then that's based off of that woman who worked.
He was like, I feel these urges, but like I've never acted on it.
I know they're wrong. Yeah, and I'm like trapped in my own brain.
What the fuck you say to him? Don't do it.
I just said thank you for writing us. That's all I said. Because I didn't know how to address. I didn't know how to address it. I didn't know what to say. I was very clammed up because this is not something we talk about. I'm talking a mile a minute. I'm never at a loss for words. That I don't know what to say. But
what about
I said thank you for writing.
What about like when you've had someone that like admits that they've raped someone? What do you say to that?
I say, okay, well, sounds like that shouldn't happen anymore. And
like, what did he say? Like what?
So the 2 that I remember about the rape, we got a couple. The ones that I remember, 2 of them had an interesting correlation where they said they blacked out when they did it. And I'm going off of 2 people writing me that I don't know. So I'm assuming that they're sharing their experiences truthfully. That's all I can go off of. But they kind of like blacked out when they did it. They weren't under the influence of a substance. And the one guy was like, my girlfriend is too weak to leave me, and I hate that about her. And I was like, well, that's some self-hatred, huh, buddy? And I don't know what you say to that. That's intense, man.
That's heavy.
That's heavy shit. But that's the humans are going through shit. And that's some of it's that. It's dark.
In a way, like, so for you so it's funny because me and Josh were talking about like just content creating before, as someone who puts out content that is listened to by a lot of people, and like people like your opinion matters to a lot of people, or what you say resonates with a lot of people. when you're talking about a subject like that, is it, do you ever feel like you have to really watch what you say or do? Is there a limit to what you're willing to share with your listeners about what's written to you guys? Is there a limit on what you're willing to like ask someone who writes something like that? Like I've, done X, Y, and Z.
Yeah. Oh, there's there's been some emails that we didn't want to read, but we wanted to summarize because Corinne has gone to therapy because of these emails. Truly, like she had a great childhood. I'm used to experiencing very intense, heavy emotions from a very young age. So that's part of what allows me to go, yeah, this is a part of the world and humanity that I kind of already was attuned to. I've already seen it as a kid. I've seen it. So, it's not surprising to me. That doesn't mean it's good. There was one email from a woman who was raped by her father when she was 10 and she escaped. She escaped and she got adopted. And she described it was really tragic. It was on her birthday. Her dad had people come over and she ran away. She got away. And we read her email. We summarized her email because I was like, if this is the pain that one person is going through, that means that other people are going through pain that's that intense, or maybe even more intense. I don't even know what that would look like. Right. So I think it's important to not be consumed in the pain, but just know that humans are very resilient.
Have you ever had instances where you've had like an face-to-face, like someone's come up to you after a show or whatever and told you something like this heavy to your face? Yeah,
there's one. Oh man, there's one I'll never forget. The first time we toured. The first year that we toured, we just did one-nighters in clubs to see if we could sell out. And we were in cities for one night at a time. And we would do meet and greets after every show, which would go longer than the show.
Right.
Because we were like, whoever wants to say hi,
Right.
And those would last hours because people would tell us stuff. And there was a guy in Arizona who was at the end of the line. And we said hi to him. He was like in his 40s or something around there. And he like had tears in his eyes. And he was like, your podcast gave me the courage to leave. I was in a very emotionally abusive marriage with a woman, and I asked her for a divorce, and I really appreciate you guys like giving the female perspective and pushing your listeners to make sure that their happiness is paramount and it's a big priority for them. And then he said, I recommended my daughter listen to the podcast. She's 15. She started listening to it, and then she confided in me that she was sexually assaulted, and she would never have told me that. And I was like, oh yeah.
Happy meet and greet.
That's a lot. That's a lot. But that's the humans. That's why in New York you run into people that are like on the street. People are rude. That never fucking bothers me because I'm like, man, I don't know what the fuck you're going through, and maybe your nervous system's a little shot right now, huh? Like I'm not. I just want to love people. I don't want to like. I used to be like, come at me, motherfucker. Did you just fucking say something to me? I used to be like wanting a fight, so scrappy. Now it's totally changed.
But do you like those moments? Like when someone tells you something like that?
Yeah, because it's a connection.
Right.
Yeah, for sure.
But it's also like...
And it's an honor for somebody to share that.
100%. And I think especially the example that you just gave.
Yeah.
That's such a like... Man, so much respect to that dude.
Yeah, right? He surprised me. That's not what I thought he was going to say.
Because, like, on so many levels, because there's, like, the first part of, like, his wife, and then his recommending to his daughter, and then, like, his daughter's experience.
Yeah. And
it's like, think about it, that's just because you and Corinne talking to a microphone.
Yeah.
All that.
Yeah. But this kind of stuff happens with or without us. Like, it's crazy that I've ended up volunteering at Bellevue Hospital for the Victims Advocate Program. You had to train for 40 hours, and you sign up for at least 2 volunteer shifts a month, where you're like a 12-hour shift where you're on call. And I used to live right by the hospital, right. So that's why I was like, oh, perfect. And if somebody comes to the ER who has been sexually assaulted or has experienced domestic violence, domestic abuse, a volunteer advocate is called in, whether they want one or they're asked if they would like to speak with one. If they say no, you just sit in the lobby just in case they change their mind. That's it. And we learned about the rights. If you're sexually assaulted, you can get a rape kit. That doesn't mean you have to prosecute. Now, with the Me Too movement, how it has resurfaced in the last couple of years, the legislation has changed. Rape kits are now held for, I believe, 20 years instead of 4. That's pretty cool.
So how are they held?
Because now people are understanding, like, oh, somebody might experience something really traumatic and not remember it for 10 years, because that's what your brain does. They might change their mind about how they feel about it, because that's very common. They might go through stages of anger and grief, and everybody, it's all their own individual path.
And so where they held, like, who holds on to them?
They have a refrigerator facility offsite. Like a storage facility, yeah.
That's so interesting.
Yeah. But one thing that I was very interested in learning is a lot of the people that come in there for sexual assault are men from Rikers.
Wow.
Yeah.
Have you had conversations with those individuals? Yeah. And what are those conversations?
We had with the program ended up getting dissolved because of COVID, which I was like, that sucks.
Yeah,
that doesn't mean people are not going to get raped or hit.
Get worse. Yeah,
that was a bummer.
Yeah.
I'm like, give me a hazmat suit. I don't care.
Yeah.
But so before at the end of the training, we had people who had received, who had interactions with the advocates come in to talk about it. And one of them was a guy who had experienced that. And it was wild. It was very interesting to hear how it's different for men, because masculinity is fucked.
Yeah, I want to talk to you about that in a second. But like for you, like what? This sounds so like stupid in a way, but like, what's the point of it for you? Like, what do you get out of it? Or is it for you, or is it to like? Because
I just want to help people. Because I know that the pain that they're carrying, that it doesn't have to feel that heavy.
Right. Well, I think it's also in that question. My question was also just like, oftentimes I think there's this idea of like when people do charitable work. You wonder if there's the element of it feels good for you, but there's also the element of like, you're helping someone else.
Yeah, of
and
course.
I think both can be true.
Yeah.
Like for you, is it because when you have those moments where you feel like you've just helped someone, that's worth it? Or is it for something else?
I think I have a unique ability to hold space for people that have just experienced something really fucking tough, without going, oh my God, like without really reacting to it, and without kind of taking their lead, and without being so shocked. I've heard so many terrible things, and I think because I'm not like I'm not as reactive maybe as the average person would be. I'm not sure. I'm not sure exactly what it is. I just have I don't know. I somehow want to relate it to this. Corinne has said this to me before, and I always laugh, but I have this ability in a different way. I've seen her, she's had people straight up, just strangers grab her butt in public. Straight up, and I've seen it. And I'm like, what the fuck? And I get mad. There was one Halloween where 2 dudes grabbed her ass and just as they walked by. And I got so fucking mad. She was like, Krystyna, you know what? I'm glad they did it to me, because I don't give a shit. But they're going to do it to somebody who does give a shit. And that's why she'll say something if they're like walking past. But she's like, it doesn't affect her. She's like, if they're going to do it to a woman here, I'd rather them do it to me than to somebody who would react, probably the way I would. Right. And I was like, that's so interesting. And so with me, I think I just have, I have a tolerance, I guess. A tolerance? I don't know what you would call it. For people in dire situations. I think that I want to be there for them, because I think part of healing is communal. I think you need other people, support. And even if that support is just to listen.
Do you feel like you're as good at listening to yourself as you are
at
Really?
No, I'm trying. That's what I'm working on.
But at the same time,
I listen to myself. It's easier for me to listen to others.
I feel like in general, that's probably true for a lot of people. I feel like a lot of people, I think, from what I've noticed, I think the best listeners generally have struggled to listen to themselves.
Oh, yeah, you think?
I don't
know. I never thought about that.
They're like what I've noticed from people that give really good advice, and I'd put you in that category. Now, I don't know how you, well, now you're telling me like maybe you're not good at listening to yourself, but like.
I'm getting better.
Okay, but it's like, they're really good. They give fucking unbelievable advice, and then like they're in the same situation. I'm like, and I'm just like, dude, like
It's projecting.
you just fucking told me about this, and you're in it now. Like, you know what I mean?
I definitely do that for sure. I resonate like the people's emails that I'm like, no, you gotta fucking stand up for yourself. I'm talking to me.
But that's so, isn't that so interesting? Like,
we all
why
project.
are people like this?
That's a great question, and I've pondered that a lot lately.
So what's the answer? Let's think.
People project because they don't have the tools to excavate themselves.
I disagree. You have the tools.
I know.
So then that's wrong.
But I still have a really hard time sitting myself down. I need somebody else's help. I need the help of a therapist to figure it out. I need to talk it out. I need the help of a friend who's known me for decades. With me in particular, one of the things that I had dealt with as a kid was being incredibly confused, having a parent say nice things to you in a mean tone, or not know that, like, you know, you don't know what mom you're going to get that morning. Is she going to throw an object at you? Right. Is she going to hit you? Or is she going to be loving and sweet? And you just not knowing that. Like, so I was so on alert that it's really hard for me to sit still and go, what am I feeling right now? I can physically know what I'm feeling. Like, I know I can identify where I'm feeling it in the body, but it really flusters my decision making.
What is, like, when you think of, because I feel like you, I could be 100,000% wrong. Is there like a dream or a goal that you're working towards in terms of where you feel like you would be your best version of yourself? Like, what would the best version of Krystyna, happiest version of Krystyna look like?
Right. Wow, you ask great questions, Felix.
Thank
it's like
you.
You've been doing this for a while. I think I'm finding that out. I think I've gone to the desert and died and come back. So I'm just now going, what is it I want? Oh, I can focus on that. I'm really excited for this show Corinne and I are working on. I want to make that really good. I think that to be in the public eye, you can look at it as a responsibility. And I think the way we've come up into it, in the small way that we have, it's certainly a responsibility. And I like it a lot. So I want to take that further.
Right.
And I don't know. Oh, actually, I do know. There's a dream that I have that I really want to do. This is like I would like to say a 5-year plan, but maybe it's a 10-year plan. I want to buy a building in New York and turn it into an immersive theater experience. I want to I got to meet some billionaires.
Yeah.
You know, and let me know. I want to like create grants for artists all around the world and theater that stimulates your 5 senses, including smell, taste, sight, sound, touch. Fortunately, we live in the best city in the world for art. One of them being immersive theater. And there's this one show called And Then She Fell by Third Rail Productions that I've seen 8 times, each on a different substance, one sober. It blew me away because that was the only thing that took me out of my head so instantly. Whatever the fuck I was going through, whatever emotional turmoil I was going through, and at that time was a lot, it went away because you are immersed. The whole building was the play. There's only 13 people in the audience at any given show. You get taken up and down in the buildings. There's one room where there's literally a river flowing through the room. The whole building has a speaker system. It's beautiful soundtrack. The lighting is beautiful. You feel like you're in a movie set that's come to life.
Right.
And that was such a profound experience of like, oh, this is what creativity can be. Like, this is what theater can be. So I would love to give that experience to other people by flying in artists, visual artists that work with light, sound, smell.
Have you ever been to this? Fuck, I don't know what it's called. There's no chance I would find it within the next 20 seconds. In Union Square, though.
Yeah.
You know which one I'm talking
about?
There's
a show where it's in the black,
with the
dark.
lights?
Yep, I saw that.
Okay.
It was really interesting.
You've been to that one? What's it called?
Get the headphones.
Yes. What's it called?
What is it called? It was like stories.
My mom begged me. She was like, for my birthday, can you please go with me? I was like, all right, let's go.
It was interesting. What was it called? I took Corinne, actually.
I have no fucking idea what it's called.
Because I'm always seeking out immersive theaters. If you search for it, it's there.
It's trippy as fuck.
It was trippy. And I liked this notion of getting a story and you're in a room full of people, but it's pitch black. So you can't talk about feeling people in the room. You know they're there. You kind of feel them there.
Yeah.
Right? Did you experience that?
Yes.
Like you're all experiencing this play. You don't know what to experience. It's kind of weird. It's offbeat.
Yeah.
And you're in it with a group of strangers. That's part of the experience, which I thought was really cool.
So when you like, what's your favorite part of those kinds of experiences? Is it just like feeling new feelings?
Yeah, and being surprised. Like what surprised me with what creativity can be. How can you deliver a story in a way that I've never heard before?
So you'd want to have like this kind of hub, if you will.
Yeah, of art therapy through immersive theater. It would be really cool because when we're in school, we don't learn about so many things that would have been really clutch. Just how to decipher what is manipulation? What does emotional manipulation look like? What does being coercive look like? How do you have efficacy? What does that word mean to you? What do you discernment? Would have loved to learn that as a kid. A lot of us, if you grow up in a household where your parents don't have the bandwidth to teach you these things and kind of nurture your spirit in that way, and you grow up to be an adult with a blindfold on.
Well, it's so crazy because I think those are all like 150 times more important than everything we've learned in school combined. Yeah. Yeah. And I think that at the end of the day, that matters a little bit more than.
Because at least you're given the tools to fish instead of getting the fish.
Yeah, it's so, we got to find some billionaires.
There's got to be some. They're all on 57th Street. They're buying houses that they don't live in.
Motherfuckers.
But I'm interested in taking your money if you want to give me a grant.
Well, I think also it's so cool when I kind of think about everything is a lot of these things that I feel like you've either like learned or have wanted to learn have been so, like, I can see how they're so connected back to guys we fucked.
Really?
Well, think about it. I mean, if you didn't have these people writing to you and telling you their experiences, and then maybe thinking to yourself, like, oh, what is this experience? Like, what does this story mean to me? Or have I experienced something similar? Or like, what do I think about that? And then you go on this, like, I'm talking to my therapist about this, and it's related to that. It just kind of feels like it all kind of, not saying it all comes from it, but like it can be like, imagine your life without guys we fucked, like what it would look like.
Ooh, I don't know. I have no idea. But I will say, yeah, those intense feelings that you're forced to face in yourself make you want to seek answers. That's what drives me, seeking answers, because I know that it's possible to feel better than how I feel.
But I feel like at the same time, but then you're always seeking.
I know. It's a problem. I gotta relax.
But do you ever feel like you're like, can you be satisfied in that?
I think I've accepted that I'll never be satisfied with that.
But isn't that kind of grim?
Nah, it's fun,
but
because
it's exciting.
You just keep seeking. There's no end goal. It's like pinball. I love playing pinball. You don't win. You just play.
But then that can also drive you.
Playing being a human on Earth.
Yeah.
I want to get the most out of it. You don't have to want that, but I do. I want to take in all I can, and then when I'm tired, I'll take a nap, which I do.
So yeah.
I live alone, and there's a lot of time to think. So I think my drug is literature.
That's what you were telling me. I mean, it's a lot of reading the Globe that we were talking.
I purchased an educational Globe.
So wait, so why is this Globe so important? Because I don't
know where shit is. And then I got this Globe, and I was like, I didn't know half that shit was there.
Like, what's like the one that you're like, oh shit, that's there?
First of all, one of the most surprising ones. Remember when we all made fun of Sarah Palin for saying I could see Russia from my house?
She really can.
Russia and Alaska is close as hell.
Very close.
They're almost touching. And I'm like, we were making fun of. I mean, there's other things to make fun of her for, but that one she was actually could have been honestly accurate. So let's not call the lady a bimbo over that one.
Were you high when you realized how close they were?
No.
That
I
would
was
have been kind of
looking at a globe. I stare at that globe all the time. With the war happening right now, I have a better idea of how close is all this shit to each other. Europe, very tiny.
Very small.
Very tiny. They act a lot larger than they are.
They do. They do. So how big's your globe?
It's like I would say a standard classroom globe. So like I don't know, it's like 13 inches.
Is it like antique? Is it just
No, it's one you would find in like a science class. Like it has the topography, like the mountain ranges and stuff. It's not 3D in that it's not like textured or like 3D in the bumps for the mountains, but it's shaded with.
You know what I want to get you one day? I want to get you like
the answers to everything.
maybe that too, but like you know what? I'm gonna be on the lookout. Just like some kind of like antique ass globe.
Oh yeah.
Like one where you
That'd be
feel like
cool.
you're in that shit. What you know that
like a Nicolas Cage movie.
yeah, like
Fucking treasure.
or the one
hunting.
that's with the you know that book that's like yay thick with the kid in France, Hugo something.
No.
Okay, cool. I'll think about it. But yeah, like one of those.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of those globes were historically inaccurate. Where like America was bigger than it actually
now
is, and I'm
wait.
like, yo, come on.
Do you think
You
that
fucking dicks.
do you think it actually like do you think things look like the globes that we look at are?
There's no way of. I could say I think one way or the other. There's no. I don't know. Who knows? I just hope that that's reliable. We have satellites, so there has to be a way. But you know, what if every country that manufactured the globe made their country a little bit?
Oh,
That's just so dumb. That's such a guy thing to do. But yeah,
guys.
I thought it was funny when I learned that. I was like, oh shit, there have been maps that portray continents and countries larger than they actually are.
Speaking of, so I wanted to touch on this masculinity because
yes.
I love, and this is one of the reasons that I love having you on. I think you're a very, very good articulator
Thanks.
and a great thinker, and so I just like to I honestly just like hearing you talk about shit, just to see how you think about it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So one of these things is masculinity, because obviously, with all the emails you get you're quite well versed in different forms of masculinity across the board.
Mm-hmm.
And as a young man myself, I think it's important to be in touch with it earlier on.
Yes.
So
yeah.
and I've had a lot of discussions about masculinity and ways that like nowadays, like I think there's a general, I think at times there might be a negative connotation with masculinity,
For sure.
rightfully so, in a lot of reasons. And so I think like for you, when you think of like if I tell you what is masculinity for you, what's your definition?
God. I don't know that I feel even comfortable answering that because I can't speak to it from experience, but I don't know. I would never answer that question because I feel like I'm speaking on behalf of somebody else, but I see the ways in which it fucks men up. Liz Plank is a good person to talk about this. She wrote a book called For the Love of Men. And it's a really great book about how damaging it is. I was at a pool in Williamsburg Hotel pool maybe 2 years ago with a friend, and there was this guy there with his little son who was like 4. The guy was in the pool, and the son was standing in the pool with his like, you know, floaties on his arms. And the dad goes, "Don't be a girl, jump in the pool." And I was like, "You motherfucker!" I'm like, "That's toxic masculinity." I know what toxic masculinity
we know. I think we know
is.
what the toxic masculinity.
And to me, I think there's a beautiful gentleness to masculinity.
So what does that look like for you?
Patience and kindness and stoicism almost. But with leadership, I think because every person, regardless of whatever their gender is, has masculine and feminine sides to themselves. Right. And it's really fun to, like as a woman, as a straight woman, I like exploring my masculine side. It's really fun. A lot of times my masculine side will come out at work.
So like, what's that look like?
When I'm standing up for myself, like but in a way that's kind of like gracious.
But wouldn't someone then argue, like, why do we have to say standing up for yourself would be masculine?
I think when you think of it in terms of, like there's this book, the title's pretty, but what's in the book is beautiful. It's called the Getting to I Do.
Okay.
It's a great book. It's a really good book about romantic relationships, how in every couple, regardless of what gender you are, one member of the couple takes on a masculine energy mostly, and another member will take on mostly the feminine energy. Right. And by that, but you can be a man with more feminine energy. I know plenty of couples that have that as the case. It's not matched up with their actual gender. But one person kind of leads the charge in certain areas and the other person leads the charge in other areas. It's just a yin and yang, really. But I don't know. I don't know. The only thing I got for masculinity is like what toxic masculinity looks like and how I feel little things that damage guys and the way that the way that men can be raised as boys. And it's just what a disservice. Like,
what is
to
like
think that feelings are weak,
right?
You're gonna grow up and explode. That's terrible. It's like stifle your feelings. Oh my God! And as somebody who's had my feelings stifled because I didn't even acknowledge them because of the way I was raised and the temper that's caused in me, I can't imagine it being an expectation of because of my gender.
So like, what would like healthy masculinity? I mean, you kind of touched on it a little bit, but like, say you're looking in terms of like looking for a life partner. Yeah. Right. Like what? When you think
I'm definitely the feminine energy in a relationship, I think.
Okay, so then if you're looking for healthy masculinity, how do you identify that, right? Because I think that there are people out there that like I don't know.
Like providing. Like a guy likes to, like a man who is traditionally a masculine energy in a romantic relationship. I think providing acts of service, I love that. I think when, I don't really, because it's been a while since I've been in a relationship, I don't know what that would look like. But because I think previously I would rely on it too, like I would fall into those roles too much in a way that wasn't genuine to who I actually was.
When you say providing, are we speaking strictly financially?
No, because I by the end of my relationship, I was the one who was earning more money. But that I don't equate the worth with that. I just think, I don't know. That's a good question. I don't really have anything for that yet. I'm so busy pondering all this other shit that I like haven't thought about masculinity in a while. What do you think about masculinity?
That's a good question. I think that I've spent more time in general so my parents were divorced when I was younger, when I was like 3 or 4. And so I saw my dad every Thursday and every other weekend. So I was with my mom for the most part. And I think that she did a fantastic job of, without really telling me, showing me what a man should look like.
And what was that?
I think it kind of fell under the umbrella of taking care of women regardless of but in a way that doesn't show that I am more powerful than you.
Right, not in a condescending
and not
manner.
In a condescending way, not in a way that I'm on a pedestal, not in a way like as equals, but like in a chivalrous like this is like a woman is precious. And so one of the ways that she kind of like instilled that in me, and in a way it's costly, is like every time I'm like I don't care if obviously if it's like a romantic partner, but if it's like with my female cousin, with my best friend's girlfriend, if we're like in a setting, if we're at dinner, if it's like a one-on-one, I have to pay. That is like my mom's way. That's one of the ways that it's just like, I couldn't imagine not doing it, which is great because like all my girlfriends like, oh my God, Felix, go to dinner, I miss you.
Yeah,
free dinner. but like in a way, like I just couldn't imagine it, just because that is like a small way that I can show that. Now that's just financial. I don't want to like equate it only to financial.
Yeah.
But it's more just like, I think the way my mom kind of instilled in me is really just like making sure that I understand that men and women are equal and should be treated as such. But at the same time, making sure that like that it's my duty to take care of the women in my life. And so for me, that is like one of the ways. But I also am very, and I try to actively be like this, to never. I think there's like a stereotype of what masculinity looks like. I'm like, I'm all tough and that. I hope I don't think I come across like that. And I hate boys and men that do. Because I think that's like comes from a place of insecurity. And I think for myself, like I'm very, I can always get better at it, but I feel quite in touch with who I am. And so I think because of that, I don't need to prove to a woman anything or anyone else in for that matter. You know what I mean?
Exist.
So it's like, that's, I think, what it means to me.
Yeah, it's great. That's great, and it means something different to every person. But that's good. I think, I wish, and maybe this is just, well, it is. It's just my experience. But I wish men were more curious about what it was like to be a woman. Like, there's certain things that I'm trying to write a bit about this. How in my school, the early years of sex education started in like 5th grade, where the girls would go into one separate room with their teacher, and the boys would go to another room with their teacher, and the girls would learn about periods, and the boys would learn about like boners. And I'm like, that sounds way more fun. But I'm like, you got to teach boys about menstruation, because I don't want to grow. Because then we grow up, and then when you deal with a 20-something guy who's like, ugh, and I'm like, ugh.
Yeah.
You're not having sex with me if you can't take that. What are you talking about?
Yeah.
But also just this notion of like, we live different lives. Like the expectations of us, whether we want to say we can dodge them or not be vulnerable to being susceptible to them, it's still pressure of to look a certain way, to act a certain way. And man, I mean, I can't tell you how many times men have been put off that I curse. And I'm like, oh my God, can we not do that shit? Yeah. They like, a lady doesn't curse kind of shit. I've gotten that before. And I'm like, fuck you, dude.
Jesus Christ.
But it's like, okay, I mean, obviously you learned that from somebody. So I'm not like, but it's just like, there's some disconnects that I wish we could bridge the gap. But I don't know how to do that exactly. But one way I think is through Guys We Fuck, because when you're funny, people will listen to you.
What do you think is like the reason that people love Guys We Fucked?
It's hard to say because it's Corey and I. So I guess probably that you can't shock us. We're not going to judge you because everyone's done shitty things. Like it's okay. And we're tougher on the listeners as the years go on. And you could tell they kind of like that, because when they write in, they're like, we say, don't be a dumb bitch. That's what we say. You're being a dumb bitch. Yeah. You're doing something that goes against yourself. Don't do that. And we'll call you out real quick. And I think people want to be called out. And especially it's by somebody that they know and kind of trust in that way. So we're very honest with our feedback in terms of advice. I think that's a big portion of it. And I've shed 12 layers of myself since the show started. So I think that it accidentally unraveled as this like part reality show where it's like you're living life with Corinne and I. Like a lot of stuff has happened to us over the last 8 years. A lot of twists and turns that we could have never see coming. So part of it's that. And then part of it is just hearing a conversation you don't hear often, just about candid things. There's nothing we're scared to talk about. It's just because why? Do you either, fear is, you got to push through that.
Do you think that, how do you see it progressing? Is this something you guys have talked about? Like, we always want to do Guys We Fucked, or do you think it's the kind of show that has
it's its own amoeba? I don't know. It's its own entity. So it takes arcs and terms that we're like, okay, guess we're doing this now.
Do you feel like, and this is something that Josh and I were speaking about before, just with regards to like the content space, and honestly, I feel like post-COVID, it's like way worse, because I think people got so bored during COVID that they started. I always tell people, like, I think the best thing about a podcast is everyone can start it. I think the worst thing about a podcast is that everyone can start one.
Yeah.
So like, do you feel like in a space that's so oversaturated? Well, no, because you guys are...
Life's oversaturated, you know?
Yeah. Do you ever feel like you're doing... that you're doing things for content? Do you ever feel that way?
With social media, I do. Because I'm like, I got to catch up. I got to, stay up to speed with this. And just with all the mental health, I've been just getting wrung out like a goddamn washcloth, a couple times a month. I've not been keeping up with it, so that I put pressure on myself to do. I now have more. I'm like clearing space in the attic. That is my head. But so sometimes with that I do. But I mean, no, being pushed to make more jokes. Like we just released the special, so I'm writing all new material. I'm going on the road. If I'm doing an hour, like there's a lot of material I got to write. So I've been writing a lot of new shit, which I'm really happy about. So I think the push to create content that's a good thing. For guys who fuck though, I don't ever conduct my love life or my personal life for the podcast at all. Right. I do things that are adventurous sexually, but that's because I want to do them.
Right.
So
do you feel like when you're stuck with regards to like making jokes or content, what is your best piece of advice? Because I feel like even
go see art. Go get inspired. Doesn't have to be the same art field as you. Go see a play. Go see music. Go see something. Go see something that inspires you or that doesn't inspire you. Because maybe I like seeing when I see stuff that's bad, in my opinion. It makes me go, oh, what would have made that good? And then that gets my wheels turning.
Now, I remember, I think it was last time you were here, you said, I don't know in what order, but you said something.
You have a really good memory.
And not great, actually. Emmy, Tony, Oscar. Because I remember
Hell
that.
Yeah.
Is that still on
Hell yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
The trifecta.
Yeah. Yep. 100%. 100%.
And how do you, like, when you think about that, what does that look like?
What do you mean, what does it look like?
Like, what would it look like in terms of time frame, in terms of, like...
I'm going to give myself 5 years for an Emmy and an Oscar.
And an Oscar,
yeah,
okay.
Yep. Because people can shoot television movies at the same time. And then what did I say, Tony?
It was the three major ones.
Emmy, Tony, Oscar?
I think
Is that the one you said? I want to do a one-woman show. I could do a killer one-woman show. But I got other stuff I'm doing, so I got to like focusing is hard for me if you haven't noticed.
So we got Emmy and Oscar, and then Tony's just lurking.
Give me another decade for the Tony because I feel like I used to do musical theater. I have a piano in my apartment, so I sing and play all day.
Okay.
But that's like my private thing. Like I like doing that for just to get energy out.
So you don't think you could? Would you want to do it in front of?
For some reason, singing in front of people, as much as I share, that to me is the most vulnerable thing you could ever do.
100%.
Is sing in front of another person.
That's so interesting because you tell jokes where you're like expected to be funny for a living.
Yeah, well, it's easy. Yeah.
I mean, that's scary. Like the feeling of like when you say something that you think is funny and
then they don't.
Yeah,
you're
that's got to be worse than like someone thinking that you're not good at singing because they're not singing.
It hurts. It hurts a lot. But you get over it. The singing thing I would have to do, but like to numb, not numb myself, but not feel that way. It would just be a matter of doing. I would feel like a fucking poser. I don't know. I'm friends with a lot of musicians that are like professional musicians who are so talented, like so supremely talented at singing, at playing, and when they hang out, they fucking make music, and you're just like, oh my God, this is so cool. I've immersed myself in the world of musicians the last couple of years, especially. So I feel like a fucking, who the fuck am I kind of thing. That's why I just like doing it in my own home. But I do musical theater, so who knows?
Okay. Now, next time I see you, where are you at mentally, emotionally, relationship, like your friends, your family, like what are we? Because we're gonna manifest some good, some good energies.
So I have a hit television show. I'm in a loving relationship with somebody who's special and talented and creative and unique and who inspires me.
Yes,
to be a better version of myself. And I am honing in on my mediumship abilities. And that's good enough. That is very good. That's pretty good.
Wait, so then when, like, is there a point where I can call you up and say, can you read my, like energy, psychic, medium cards?
I don't know yet. Tarot is a way it is. That's a method. I mean, I'll let you know. I'll let everybody know. I'm not gonna be shy when I figure it out. I'll tell everybody because it's so cool.
Like, I just want you to tell me, like, Felix, this is what's gonna happen. This.
Oh yeah. I mean, that's
energy.
I don't want to be a psychic. I'm not interested in being a psychic. I'm interested in the fact that when we die, we don't actually die, and facilitating proof of that for others.
I think that's a good place.
Because then it's like, you don't got anything to be scared of. Death is fake. So have fun and be kind.
Well, Krystyna, I think
Always a light conversation, right?
I have a drive back to Boston tonight. I'll be thinking about a lot of things. No, but on a serious note, I appreciate the show. Thank you so
man,
much
you
for
too.
it's so awesome seeing you. And you know, I just think that you're one of those people, and I genuinely mean this from the bottom of my heart, that like I feel like I'm a sponge, and I feel like I always remember. It's funny because every time I'm asked like, what's your best piece of advice about starting a podcast or starting this, I always tell them what you told me, and it was really just, and I always repeat this to my listeners too, is follow your curiosity, you know? And I think like whenever I'm thinking about what guest am I going to have on, like that's why I love having you back on, because I'm genuinely curious in like how you think about things, how you feel about things. And so I hope you know that for me, you inspire me a lot. And I hope for my listeners that for like the first couple episodes, they got to know you as like, you know, what's going on a little bit. And now they hear like, what's the heavy shit? My mom, my dad, my brother. So no, but genuinely, I appreciate you. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Felix. You're a lovely person.
I appreciate you. Thank you.
Ditto.
Beautiful. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you haven't done so already, please make sure you like the video, subscribe to the channel, follow me on Instagram at felix.levine. And if you have something to say, please leave a comment.